Hey, I've got another behind the scenes video for Tier 1, the first book in the Tier trilogy. I wanted to talk a little bit about genetics. So, genetics has a really interesting history in my life, and I'll tell you why. I know that's a really weird thing to say. Nothing in my own genetics, but when I was at university, my husband and I both went to Brigham Young University in Utah. I transferred down from the University of Calgary. And when I transferred down, so if you're not familiar with the Canadian education system versus the American education system, we only do 3 years of university up there. And so when I came to BYU, I was already ahead in a lot of things, even though it was still technically my freshman year at BYU because I had transferred down, one semester after I'd started at the University of Calgary. And I was bored by a lot of the classes. So BYU has this really cool thing where you can actually go to the testing center and you can take the final exam for some of these classes. So I did that for at least one class. I can't remember if I did it for multiple, but I went and took the final exams. And then I was looking at the class lists because all of these general education requirements, some of them were already taken care of by the classes I'd taken, but some of them were not. And I really did not want to take these super boring, like entry-level classes that I basically did in high school. That seemed like such a waste to me. And so I ended up signing up they had this other option where you could sign up for 2 higher level classes to satisfy that requirement. So when I was looking at the science requirement, I saw that they offered genetics, a genetics class, and an ecology class. And both of those sounded way more fascinating than taking a basic, science class. And so I decided to take that. And I think it might have actually been satisfying the science requirement for my major. I can't remember. But anyway, I decided to take those 2 classes. I loved them. The genetics class, like about half of it was stuff I'd already taken in high school, but the other half was super fun and fascinating. Okay, so that's the backstory. Now enter the man who became my husband, Scott. I met him. He was really smart. We were both taking some higher level classes, and he was a science major. He was doing pre-med at the time, which he didn't end up becoming a doctor, but he was doing pre-med. And well, he did become a doctor, just not a medical doctor. So he was taking pre-med, and I was taking this genetics class, and I couldn't figure out a way to get him to like connect with me, right? Because we were hanging out with groups of friends, and that was great, but I really wanted to hang out with him one-on-one because I thought he was awesome and really cool. And so I came up with this idea that I should pretend that I didn't understand my genetics homework, this particular, piece, and he could come over and teach me about it. And so I had to look through the whole book because I'm like, this has to be believable. If I choose something that is too easy, then he's gonna think I'm dumb, or I'm not gonna be able to pull it off, right? So I found this tiny little paragraph about microsatellites, and I understood it, but it was plausible that I might not understand it because it was a little bit of a complex, little section there. And so I called him up, and I was like, that's when we had landline phones. I called him up and I was like, hey, would you happen to have some time this afternoon to teach me about microsatellites? I would love to learn more about this. And he of course said yes. And he came over and we chatted, and that started many more times that we hung out together and spent time together one-on-one and not with a group of friends, which was exactly what I had been hoping for. But I told him when we got engaged that I did understand microsatellites, and in fact, I was kind of a genetics nerd. And I think he was a little bit like, seriously at first, but we both thought it was really funny and we've laughed about it. And it comes up, every couple of years, we talk about that little white lie that I told to be able to hang out with him more, and it all worked out well. So I have a passion for genetics, and I still to this day listen to different podcasts that talk about genetic research and really amazing cool things that they're discovering still about the human genome. So if you ever want podcast recommendations, let me know.